Hello, this is Quaff, the developer of I Want to Distort the Travesty. I thought I'd just do an independent playthrough of the game and say everything I wanted to say before I forget. um, so for this opening screen, I made this myself by going in Paint and posing a single sprite and editing out some of the artifacts from his face to make it look clearer. I originally didn't have shift to jump and all that in the bottom right, but then someone who's never played a fan game before played this and got confused. So I was like, oh dang, I should be more accepting of new players. So that's all the story there. For here, I had to also pose the sprites in game to get this image because the Distort the Travesty 3 and 1 and 2 do not have like any official art assets whatsoever, and like promotional art, there's nothing. So when I was like, what should I make for my title screen? There was just nothing. For the options menu, I have Second Life because the story of Distort the Travesty 1 was retconned to start off in Second Life. It's not a serious thing at all. It's just a funny thing. For keyboard controls, if you try doing them, you can't because it would crash the game if I let you. I don't know why it crashes, and the code surrounding the crash is too complicated for me to understand. So I just it's a game maker / yo-yo engine thing. But anyway, so there's 4 difficulties named after the Distort the Travesty 1 difficulties. None of them do anything. I was going to include more hazards on distorted mode, especially in boss arenas, because that's what Distort the Travesty 1 did. And I thought it'd be pretty sucky if someone like picked distorted for fun, but then they got to the final boss and couldn't beat it because of a stupid trap in the arena. So let's get started. Oh, whoops, I have the game muted. Lol. Okay, so it says check out the title text, but I couldn't get the title text to record, so we're just gonna pretend it doesn't exist for this whole run. It's basically just my dev commentary in game, so whatever. So you used to start off with all 4 elements, but playtester said that was complicated, that it was throwing too much at once. So I start you off with just fire. These 4 doors, 2 now, it used to be each of the 4 elements, so you had to use all 4 to get out of here. And I thought that was enough of a tutorial, but it wasn't. So this copier here, I put it so you can't jump over it like from here. You have to jump up to the platform and then jump over it. So if you don't know it can kill you, it'll kill you no matter what. There's like, you have to intentionally avoid it. So that's my tutorial for the copiers being dickish. So these broccoli holders are an enemy in DT1, and the bat up there is a boss. It's not really important, their origin story or whatever. They're just, you know, things. The Mega Man life here is pretty funny, I think. And in Distort the Travesty 1, there's a Mega Man life in this level, the integrated electrical facility. There's a life you can't get just there to troll you, so I included it. I saw a playtester try to get it and fail, and it was extremely funny. So, you can swap elements through X and C. This is quite difficult to do on keyboard, but extremely easy on controller, where L1 and R1 are easy access. So everyone I've ever seen play this game gets to gym and then goes back, but you can actually save, and it saves the crystal. So I'm not really sure how I could have designed it to like encourage players to save instead of go back. I could have put walls behind the player to force them to go down, but I feel like that would be too overt, like too obviously me getting in the way of things. So I put this bat here so you cannot progress unless you know that you can kill the blue. See, at the bottom of the screen, I forced you to shoot fire to progress, but I didn't do that for fire, so I added that bat there to compensate. So here's blocks from Asakura P. My good friend Mugi gave them to me. I really like these as a mechanic. I don't think I did anything too crazy with them here, but I think they're quite entertaining. The main problem is that in this game, you know, you have to hit the red with the red and the blue with the blue, which is not from the original game. The original game just let you shoot anything. And that's a lot better, I think, because there's less struggling with the controller. But in this game, I really wanted to emphasize the color swapping, because that's really, like, this stage 1, the color swapping is like the whole point. So, or the element swapping. So oh yeah, if you hit them with the wrong element, they charge you. I could have lol, I'm dying. I could have had them activate from anything, but and it would be functionally the same in pretty much every area, just with less tedious swapping. But I was like, if I don't have them swap colors for this, what's even the point, like, of having color swapping? In the future, I probably will never do color swapping. I did color swapping. Oh yeah. There's multiple ways to cheese this. You can jump in between the doors, which is extremely hard. I've never actually been able to do that myself. You can jump like that and just get past the shot blocker that's there. Or you can do what I do and just spam swap rapidly. I've only seen one person ever do it the legitimate way. But that's okay, I think it's clever. I think it's neat how you can do that many ways. Okay, so this is the infamous corridor room. This used to be the first screen in the game, and it was extremely hard, like way harder. Instead of spikes, they were basically copiers, which are like inverts, pretty much. So this was like 3 times as hard, and like pretty much everyone who played it just had an awful time, like extremely awful, because it was just so ridiculously hard. It was interesting to me because I didn't find the copiers that hard. I'm not sure what led to the difference in experiences, but I didn't have trouble with it. But everyone who played it did, so I changed it because I didn't want people to have an awful time, basically. I still don't, basically the lesson there is that you'll never be able to understand the kind of experience players will have by yourself. You have to play test and listen to reactions and fix things up if they need to be fixed. Obviously, you know, if you have a hard part and people struggle, that's okay too. But that was hard for the wrong reasons. It was hard because it was too precise, and this area is not about being precise. It's about color swapping. So I accidentally did the puzzle. So this area is probably my favorite screen in the game because if you play it normally, you know, just do this, then this block will be in your way. So you got to go back. Instead of having an actual puzzle, I just had that like troll there basically. So like if you're not paying attention to what you're doing and thinking ahead, you'll have to go back. So I really enjoy seeing people fall for that, and it's great every time. Okay, and then I did it again here. If you don't get the blue, you can't reach this one. You got to go back for the blue. So I tricked them, and then I tricked them again. So like they should have learned by now, basically. So the intended strat is to do this, right? But that's nearly impossible on keyboard. Like if you play keyboard, download this game and try it on keyboard. You will not be able to do it. It's so hard. So I put in a little skip. If you pay really any attention at all, you'll notice how to do it without swapping. Okay, so here I removed the elements. I was gonna have a cutscene where Jerry over there steals the elements back and says, "Hey, you took my elements. Those are mine." And then, you know, he starts attacking with elements. But I couldn't figure out how to do a cutscene in the I Wanna engine. I do now, but this was actually my second day of working on it, on Game Maker in general. So I just didn't know how to do it. Anyway, so this boss is actually pretty hard. The first stage is kind of easy. The first stage is, or there's 4 phases. The first phase is easy to the point of being trivial, I think, which is this boss's biggest flaw. It's simply not hard at the first phase at all. So if I were to redo this boss fight, my first thing I would do is make this part easier, or make this part hard. Or maybe I would just have him start off with Earth Shift or something to get the fight going. So what you just saw me do there was attack him when he's coming down from Earth Shift. That's the only way to speed up the fight. It makes him die in 2 hits faster, because you can hit him while he's in the middle of other things. Oh boy. So the 2 Earth Shift phase is actually really hard when he summons Floods. Flood is really the main thing to be careful about in the final phase. The Earth Shifts do kill, by the way. I think I may have actually just died to it, so I don't need to say that, but yeah, Earth Shifts kill. For Flood, you want to be all the way over there, and then that makes it actually kind of easy. So for the wind, you have to jump to dodge. If you're not jumping, you'll die, like straight up. I actually intentionally coded it so if you're not jumping, you die. Okay, so I beat him. That's because I'm the developer. Most people take like an hour to beat him, 30 minutes to an hour, because he's quite hard. But I've beaten him like 20 times. I didn't actually say anything about it because I was so focused on the fight. But the wind orb he summons in his last phase, you have to shoot it to destroy it. And I didn't include any indicator for this. That's because in Distort the Travesty 3, one of the bosses summons the wind orb and you can destroy it, but the game doesn't tell you this pretty much. So like everyone who fights that boss has a really hard time with that wind orb. And then after they finally beat the boss, you know, we DT players are like, you know, you can actually destroy the wind orb, and they're like, what? So I was basically referencing that moment by having the wind orb be there. If you play Distort the Travesty, I think you'll see the wind orb and be like, oh man, can I destroy this? And then you'll shoot. But if you haven't played Distort the Travesty 3, you may have some hardships. But I think that's compensated for by the fact that the wind orb is undodgeable if you don't shoot it. And it sticks around. I don't think it destroys itself. So if you, after dying to it a few times, you'll be like, you know what, I have to do something about it. And the only thing you can do is shoot. So I think it works out. Okay, so this is based on Distort the Travesty 2, which is a time trial speedrun game. The desert area in DT2 is the one I remember the most for some reason. I have no idea why. There are better, more memorable areas, but I just think of the desert every time. So I include jump refreshers here, but they actually are not used in the desert area. I thought I would use them, but then I didn't, so. So the needle in this area, this is a needle area. I nerfed it a lot because I figured needle players wouldn't actually play this, and DT fans would play it, and I wanted it to be a comfortable experience for the DT players. So it's all pretty easy stuff. I'm gonna die here. Well, for the timer, I basically made it, if you don't stop moving, you'll be like 20 frames or half a second in this game away from death. Pretty close to death. So you have to like never stop moving. So like, I guess the time trial aspects are actually kind of like an illusion here. It's just go fast or die, but I think that's okay because that's like an I wanna kind of thing. Okay, so these are hex rings. They're a major part of the Distort the Travesty series. I couldn't not include them, basically. When I mentioned I was doing a time trial area, someone said, oh god, jump gravity flippers with hex rings. So the first screen I included with hex rings was the gravity flippers. I think it's pretty funny. There's two ways to do that screen. I did the intended way, but there's another way if you want to try to find it. So I actually made this save to where you can only save pretty close to it, and because if you saved from over here in the past, you wouldn't be able to get into this hex ring in time. So I moved the save blockers and whatnot. Got it. This is a pretty interesting jump, I think. It's so tricky. I get tricked by it, but yeah, there you go. Well, I say it's so tricky, but it's not really that tricky. So these flat spikes, they actually used to be not flat, but then I was like, actually, that's kind of tricky. So, whoops. Those floating shurikens in the air. There used to be only the two on the bottom, but then a playtester skipped past them and without going through the middle, and I was like, wait, that's not what I wanted. That's not intended. I think it's more fun to go through the middle. So I don't think it's harder to go through the middle. I think it's more fun. So I changed things so you can skip it. Man, this area is a lot harder when I'm trying to commentate. Commentary. So yeah, I think it's easier to make needle when you like make a corridor, so to speak. So for this area, I started them off at the beginning and then just like built the level downwards as I went, and I found that was a lot easier. But I guess I should say on commentary, oh shit, I did not design the needle from like my mind without any help while making this level. I had a few needle games in the background that I was playing through, and I would like look at what they did and think, okay, I'm gonna try to mimic that. Well, I did this maze by myself, though I'm sure other games have done it. Let's see. There's two zones you can go in here, the bottom and the top. Everyone focuses on the top, and I think it's harder, so it's like really hard to get into. But I couldn't make it easier to get into without hurting the aesthetics of the maze. So I guess you could say I prioritized aesthetics over gameplay, which is bad. But anyway, the needle games that I was inspired by, and like borrowed bits from, where I want to be the Lucian Needle, I cannot help but go the way of the starlit sky, and a few others. Oh yeah, there's a shortcut here. I always do the shortcut because this needle is pretty hard. Or it's not hard, but it's tricky for me. So this is Claire. I couldn't figure out what to do for a Claire boss. Her moveset is identical almost to Jerry from DT1. She has the same spells, the same sound effects. So I thought, okay, the only thing I could do with her is a race, because this is a time trial area. I gotta have her do a race. Then I thought, wait, a race is pretty much just what I'm already doing with the time limit thing. So instead of doing a race, I looked at her sprite sheet and thought, okay, I'll be funny for this instead of make a real boss. Here's her porcupine sprite, and that was that. So this is a jump refresh tutorial. It didn't used to be here. This entire screen was just for mood and like atmosphere to set the tone between the prior stage and the one coming up. But I realized, okay, yeah, I had the jump refresher tutorial in the desert, but then I didn't use them in the desert, so players may have forgotten. So here they are again, because they are used in this area. This area being the War Master approach. This area was often called I Wanna Be the War Master in the Distort the Travesty 3, because it's very much like a fan game in Distort the Travesty. So of course I did my best to mimic the area here in this callback game. I think I did an okay job in general, because I played the spot myself. I played this area, the War Master approach, in the game while making it, and I saw what the developer of Distort Travesty did, and I included the same elements here. Like these drops, they're in the War Master approach. The one thing I really struggled with was enemy bouncing. In Distort the Travesty, a big mechanic is being able to bounce on the enemy's head, and like Mario, and that was used extensively here. But obviously, I'm not going to program Mario bonking for this area, especially when I haven't had Mario bonking anywhere. So I was like, actually, jump refreshers are pretty much like enemy bonking, in that it refreshes your jump, etc., etc. The gameplay style is definitely a lot different, since the physics for jump refreshers and the physics for bonking off enemies are like totally different. But I think it worked out pretty good. Alright, so this part used to be harder. There used to be a gun right there, hence the geometry of the level, and it would shoot on the ground, but I never died by it. Like it was just kind of there, so I removed it. The intention for this bit was to like force the player to like jump here and then like camp out in between them. I don't really think it worked out, but that's okay. So developer trick, the intended way to do this is like go back and forth, but they're fast enough that you can just jump on one. The reason why I left this in, even though it's not intended, is because it's you have to realize it. First of all, you have to like jump and then think, oh hey, there's enough time for me to do it back. So it's not like if the player takes the easiest way out without really thinking, they're gonna not find that. But if they like pay attention, then they will. So I think it works out. It's easier if you pay attention, basically. So I moved the gun here because I think it worked better. I'm not like super fond of this bit because it's kind of easy. It's just repetitive jumping, but I think it uses the hex strings pretty well. So I think this is a pretty interesting bit. The real challenge, so to speak, is that the conveyor belt moves at 2.9 or 3.1 to the right. So if you try to walk against it, you'll still move, but just barely. So like, it gives you time to think, but one, you still move to the right, so you don't feel safe, and two, if you try to move right, you'll just blast over and like die instantly. So it's I like the balance. You also have to be careful about hitting the bullet as it travels down, because it's pretty slow. So if you jump, you gotta jump before you land. So this bit, I made it extremely forgiving in Before I Die. It used to be just one block, and that was really tight, and I thought, I don't actually want this game to be like super precise. This isn't I Want to Be the Brute of a Man. It's just a fun little DT game, so I made it like almost 2 blocks even. It's like 1.5. So this screen is actually pretty funny whenever I look at it, because I actually just went into the game and screenshotted this room and like put it into the game as a background. So like there's actually no blocks here. The whole ground is just one stretched out invisible block, and the ground itself is just part of a screenshot. So this cutscene, Chaos War Master is the final boss of Distort the Travesty 3, pretty much, and he's extremely hard and complicated, and he's just probably the best boss fight ever made. So for this, I wanted to juke out the Distort the Travesty players. They would come in here, they'd recognize the area instantly, and be like, and then they'd see War Master and be like, oh shit, this is about to get real. But in reality, it doesn't get real. It's just a cutscene. The text on the screen that comes up and the music, that's War Master's music. So I thought the players would definitely think they're about to fight War Master. But then Jeremy, that's the guy's name, Jeremy comes down in his mech and crushes War Master. I quite like that cutscene. So this area, the first thing I did was put the turrets up there, because I thought, okay, player on a platform, dodging bullets makes sense. But when I had the turrets firing at the player, I realized that the platform moves the player so fast that the bullet in the middle would miss them every time. So I made it a try shot, and that took like 30 minutes of playtesting. To like figure out and do. And I had to track the player at first, but since they don't start firing until you get on the platform, it would be the same thing every time. Even though they were aiming at the player, it was really just the same thing, with very slight alterations. So it wasn't really hard to dodge the bullets, it was hard to memorize where the bullets come, if that makes sense. So I made them static. This used to be a lot harder too, and there was if you've ever seen Resident Evil, there was a bit where there's a solid spike wall and you have to go under the platform, but I thought that would be too hard for someone just trying to have fun with Distort the Travesty. So in the past, if you like saved right here and then like got on the platform, the hex rings would be misaligned and you would die like no matter what. So what I did was I set a little trigger here right as you get on the platform, basically, that resets the hex rings to where they need to be. So even if you save way over here, when you get on the platform, they'll be in the right location. I think hex rings work really well with pretty much everything. I really like hex rings. They work so well with this platform section, and I was just like, yeah, you know what, this is great. When they're on the right alignment, anyway. So I really like this screen's music. I actually I added so much to this game, like 50% or so, because I like this song a lot and I wanted to include it in a game. Like I was listening to it like on loop and like, God, I love this song. It's Black Stronghold from Maxo Level Music. I think Maxo Level Music is pretty good. Maxo Level Music has like 36 tracks in total in the album I have. 4 for 8 levels, 4 tracks per level for 8 levels. I always thought about making a game full of Maxo Level music, but nah, I don't know about that. So here's the only secret in the game. I saw Cousin or Andrew do this, and I was like, okay, that's awesome. I never would have thought this was possible, so I included 1 internet. That's the currency in Distort the Travesty. So this level I wasn't sure what to do, but I was looking at the tile set and I saw these needles which were used in the warship in the original game, and I was like, you know what, I can make like a maze out of these things. so I did. And that's the whole story of this. I think it's kind of easy, but that's okay. I'm not trying to be super hard here. And that's the last screen of platforming in the game. Here's the boss. The boss, Jeremy, the guy who crushed War Master a second ago. So unlike Jerry, this guy has like no animation whatsoever, and that's because his sprite doesn't actually have much animation. Like, he has a walking animation and like moving his gun up animation, and that's it. So I was like, what am I gonna do here? So I decided, okay, you know what, I'm just gonna not have him move at all, like a standard train game boss, and have him be in avoidance. His moveset, or his sprite set, is really good for avoidance, because, you know, in DT3 he shoots bullets, he does lasers, etc, etc. So I was like, yeah, that would work for an avoidance. I was gonna have the shield disappear and then come back so the player can shoot it, like shoot him, but only at times. But then I was like, wait, that's exactly what I did for Jerry. And I don't want to repeat myself, so I did not have his shield disappear. It's just pure avoidance. Like, what would shooting really add to this? Like, the shield goes away, then you shoot him. Yeah, you just press X, or you press Z to shoot. That's it. Not really deep gameplay. Yeah, I quite like this boss. That bullet spam, this one that I'm dodging right now, that was the last move added. I I just added it on a whim, and then let Mugi playtest it live. And it worked out well there, so I kept it in. All the moves are heavy on RNG, but I'm pretty sure they're all consistently dodgeable because I nerfed a lot of the RNG. Like, I made it so 2 bullets can't spawn within 50 pixels of their vertical width, whatever. I'm sure there's like some super bad RNG that can fuck you, but I think I got rid of most of it. Yesterday, before doing this, I actually beat this guy on my first try twice in a row. So I think I'm only really dying because I'm not paying attention, but it's okay. I guess I'll describe each move. This one is kind of neat. If you stay far to the left, you'll be able to dodge it pretty easily. This one is my favorite move because I just think it's fun to like nudge to the right. Actually, I think this one's my favorite move because it has the tightest dodges. But I like them all. I fixed that bug where the bullets shooting in the air. I fixed that in another version of this boss, but I guess I forgot to do it here. Well, it happens because the rain uses the same variables as the horizontal bullets, so shit. But if you go to the left for that, then if you go to the left for the drone bullets, then the targeted shots are really hard to dodge. So yeah, this music is from Kamui. I really like Kamui, and this is like a shmup boss, so I was like, okay, perfect fit. I may have to stop commentating just to concentrate on this boss, because he is kind of hard. I kind of forgot that he was kind of hard because I beat him on my first try 2 times in a row. But yeah, he is kind of hard. All of his attacks come... I made sure to give him like no downtime. There's only 60 seconds, or rather, there's only 1 second before each attack. So there's like a 1 second break, and then you're back in the game. There's no tells almost, because tells would slow down the fight, but in return, most of the bullets come from far away, so you have enough time to react. The theme of this fight was the player is always in danger, and the player is always surrounded by bullets. I did a lot of RNG because I thought it'd be boring. Like, my least favorite thing is attacks that are always like super easy to like. Or it's not my least favorite thing, but I don't really like it when you repeat a fight a lot and then you can like memorize literally everything and like dodge it perfectly, because it's the same thing every time. I like it being different. So for Jerry, my least favorite thing about Jerry is that a lot of the attacks are the exact same thing every time. Like Rock Drill, the exact same thing. This is compensated for by the Earth Shifts and the Wind Orb mixing up things. So I actually quite like Jerry despite that, but for this fight I really wanted the attacks to always be different, and when attacks being the same thing aren't bad. But in a fight like this, like if you dodge the 2 second move the same way every time, and you fight the boss 100 times, that can get pretty repetitive. It's kind of hard to give clear thoughts on this matter because I'm focusing on the boss. Okay, I win. Nice. So yeah, that was the boss. Not too hard. He's kind of hard, but if you just keep fighting him, you'll win. I quite like the aesthetics of this boss fight. Incidentally, like the ship stretching out to the right. And the cloud effect. Thank you, Zephyr, for like walking me through how to do the cloud effect. I think it really worked out. Okay, so this end screen is funny because Distort the Travesty uses sprites from other properties. So that's Eve from Black Cat, Alan from D Gray Man, and some other guy from Black Cat. So I pasted Jerry's face over the protagonist of Black Cat, which I think is funny. And for this guy, I gave him the name tag, "Hello, my name is Jeremy," because that's the name of the character in DT3 that we just fought, actually, the robot. So I did include an optional boss recently. I included this like blurb: "This guy is crazy hard. Every move is generally dodgeable, but unfair, etc., etc." But then I started watching some videos of other I Want to Be the Guy bosses. And I was like, wait, actually, this guy's not that hard compared to these things. Like Wolfie EX was fighting some avoidance boss. And he had been fighting him for like 10 hours, I think he said. You know, this guy's not going to take 10 hours. He's... It's the same boss, but I buffed each move. God, yeah. You can tell I buffed the moves. This music is from Reflex, Virgo Type Human, as I believe. So that move is actually easier to dodge than the original, but it looks cooler, so I included it. But everything else is harder. This has the electrical pillars zooming in on the player. Those targeted lasers are way tighter, and there's more horizontal ones. So you gotta move more precisely. These have horizontal bullets coming at you now, so you have to jump while positioning yourself horizontally. It's a hard time. I looked at Jerry's code and I duplicated everything, and then I just started making everything harder, as hard as I reasonably could, without being too crazy. And that's what this guy turned into. Like, technically I can make him harder, like by making him do more horizontal shots there or whatever, but I wanted it to be consistently dodgeable and not like unfun hard. So like, this is really hard, but I still have fun fighting him. This attack was nerfed a lot, the box one. This was by far the most nerfed attack. It used to happen like twice as fast, and the bottom attack would happen 3 times instead of just once. Man, I had it a lot. Yeah, this guy is extremely hard. I don't think I'll be able to beat him. You really have to get in the zone and like grind for like an hour or two to beat this guy. Maybe even more than an hour. I do not know. I don't believe anyone's beaten him yet. I haven't seen any footage of anyone beating him, so I have no idea how long it'll take people to beat him. I don't really count because like I made the moves, I play tested the moves, so I know some tricks. Let's see here. So like for example, if you hang out on the left screen, you can dodge that move pretty easy. But if you try to stay in the middle, it'll be hard. You can also avoid this laser attack entirely by going to the left. I didn't realize that until afterwards, but I thought I'd include it because it's not like the easiest thing to do. Like, you have to already be there. There's one more thing about this fight. Wow, shit. I'll probably die a lot trying to show it off, but you can actually get behind him. I'm not exactly sure if this makes it easier because this targeted attack is like extremely hard to dodge there. But if you get really, really good RNG and he only does attacks that don't target, then you can probably beat the fight just by standing there. Like, if he does the targeted shot or one other one I forget, then you'll probably die. But if he only does the other 4, which is unlikely, like really unlikely, then you can survive. Oh shit. So yeah, this boss is hard. I don't actually intend to beat him, so this is pretty much the end of the video. Yeah. I wouldn't say this is like my favorite I Want a boss of all time, especially since I programmed it, so that would be super lame. But I think I would enjoy I Want to Be the Boss I want to be the guy bosses if they were more like this boss. I was trying to recreate my ideal, basically. It's different each time. He has 6 attacks, and the RNG cycles through selecting one at random, but never the same one twice. In fact, the RNG is actually it has to be a move that wasn't used last time or the move before last time. So it's always a set of 3 different moves. So there's not much repetition. So like each time I die here, I don't really mind because the fight's gonna be different when I come back. I never know what's gonna come first or second. I can't like plan a route to beat this boss. I have to just play him, and he's hard. So so he's hard. So not only do I have to actually play him, but I have to remain engaged the entire fight. Like if I stop paying attention, I'm just dead. So I gotta pay attention. I gotta weave through the bullets, and it's different each time, so I can't route. It could be better. This boss could be a lot better, but the design fundamentals, I think, are what I want to see more of in I Wanna games. Like, my least favorite kind of boss by far is the avoidance boss that is the exact same every time. You sit through a minute of stuff you've done 1,000 times and then die to the 1 second that comes after that you haven't seen yet. I do not like that at all. I find it extremely boring to repeat the same content. So even though these 6 moves are the same mostly, aside from the RNG, I don't get bored of them because I don't know what order they'll come in, and the RNG makes them different, except 2 of them. So the moves I handle differently, and I don't know which one's coming next. So I'm always on my feet, and reacting real time and improvising. And I find that a lot more enjoyable than memorizing a set pattern and hoping for the best. But yeah, I guess that's the end of my soapbox. Yeah. Well, I guess that's the end of this video. Remember to like and subscribe. I'm just kidding. I don't do videos. So, well, I hope you enjoyed this, and yeah, play the game if you want. It's you already saw everything, but yeah. Thanks for watching. I really appreciate your time. Have a good life, man. I'm counting on you.